Hello children, interested to read another beautiful story? The title of today's story is The Jasmine Princess. I hope you know jasmine is a type of flower which is very fragrant. बहुत अच्छी खुशबू आती है उसमें से. Once there lived a king who had only one son whom he loved more than anything else in the world. The prince grew into a handsome young man, and the king started thinking about his marriage. But before any plans could be made, the snakes in the kingdom began to create havoc. When the king came to know, he became worried about his subjects. Hundreds of people were dying because of snake biting. There were snakes everywhere, and people were afraid to sleep at night and to go out during the day. The prince decided to take matters into his own hands, and with a band of brave and trusty soldiers went all over the land hunting and killing snakes. One day, when they were in a forest, the tired prince went to sleep under a tree. As he slept, a great big snake with 7 hoods came slithering down the trunk. The prince's men were about to kill it, but the prince stopped them. The great snake looked at him with pain-filled eyes. ये वो बड़ा सा सांप नीचे आया था. What do you want from me, king of snakes? The prince asked. I have a terrible headache. I have been suffering for 7 long years, and the pain is so bad, I can't keep my subjects in order, groaned the mighty serpent. So this is why the snakes are creating so much trouble, said the prince. Can't you do something about this headache? अब इस किंग स्नेक के सब्जेक्ट्स क्या हैं? वो बाकी के सांप जो इतनी सारी मुसीबत क्रिएट कर रहे थे लोगों के लिए. Only one thing can cure it. The scent of the jasmine that falls out of the mouth of the jasmine princess. Who is this jasmine princess? Asked the prince. Far away in the south, there lies a great kingdom. The king has only one daughter, a beautiful, delicate princess who weighs only as much as 7 handfuls of jasmine flowers. वो इतनी डेलिकेट है प्रिंसेस कि 7 मुट्ठियों में जितने फ्लावर्स आएंगे ना जैस्मिन के, उस प्रिंसेस का वेट सिर्फ उतना ही है. When she laughs, 3 divine jasmines drop from her mouth, but she hasn't laughed for many years. The scent of those divine jasmines will cure my headache, and then your kingdom will not be troubled by snakes anymore. I will find her and bring the flowers, the prince swore. तो क्या कहा इस स्नेक ने कि जब वो प्रिंसेस हंसती है तो उसके मुंह से जो 3 फूल आते हैं, उन फूलों की स्मेल से इसका हेडेक चला जाएगा. अब अपने किंगडम में अपने सब्जेक्ट्स की रक्षा करने के लिए प्रिंस ने कहा, मैं लेकर के आऊंगा. The prince and his band of trusty men headed south. On the way, the prince stopped at a pond to drink some water when he saw a big ant struggling in the shallows. Gently, he picked the tiny creature up and set it down on the grass. उसको क्या नजर आया प्रिंस को? बड़ी सी चींटी जो पानी में स्ट्रगल कर रही थी. अच्छी नेचर का प्रिंस था. उसने वो चींटी उठाई और बाहर ड्राई ग्रास पर रख दिया. I am the king of ants and I thank you for saving my life, the ant said. If you ever need my help, think of me and I will be there. अगर अच्छा करोगे तो आपके साथ भी अच्छा होगा ना? ऐसा हुआ क्या? देखते हैं आगे. A few days later, riding through a forest, the prince heard a horrible cry. He searched the area and came across a gigantic demon with a tamarind tree growing out of his mouth. बहुत बड़ा राक्षस था और उसके मुंह से क्या निकल रहा था? इमली का पेड़. The awful cries were coming from him. The prince saw that the tree had rooted the demon to the ground. He cut the tree down and helped the demon get the roots out of its mouth. "Thank you," said the demon, bowing. "If you ever need my help, think of me and I will be there," he said and flew off. At last, the prince reached the kingdom of the Jasmine princess. He went to the palace and was taken to the king. "I am the prince of a faraway land and I have come here because I want to marry your daughter," said the prince. "There are 3 tasks you must perform, and if you do, you can marry her," said the king. The prince, who had a long time to think about the fragile little princess, now wanted her for himself and not just for the divine jasmines that fell from her mouth. And so he said, "I will do whatever you ask." यहाँ तक पहुँचने के लिए जितना टाइम लगा, उस टाइम में प्रिंस को लगा कि वो सिर्फ उस प्रिंसेस के मुंह से निकलने वाले जैस्मिन फ्लावर्स ही नहीं लाना चाहता, वो उस प्रिंसेस से भी शादी करना चाहता है. So what are the tasks? Let us see. Tonight, my men will bring 100 sacks of rice and black gram, all mixed up. You must separate them by dawn. 100 बोरे भर के चावल और दाल के मिक्स्ड. उनमें से क्या करना था प्रिंस ने? चावल अलग, दाल अलग, सुबह होने तक. So that evening, the servants took him to a barn where there were 100 sacks of rice and gram. The prince looked at the black and white grain and wondered how on earth he was going to separate them. Then he thought of the ant king. In a moment, the ant king stood near his foot. "Why have you called me?" he asked the prince. "I must separate the rice from the gram by dawn," said the prince. "That's easily done," said the ant king. The prince emptied the sacks on the floor and soon thousands of ants poured into the barn and got down to work. By dawn, there were 2 piles in the barn, one white and one black. हजारों चींटियां आ गईं और मिल करके उन्होंने चावल और दाल दोनों अलग कर दिए. The king was very pleased. None of his daughter's suitors had got this far. अरे भाई, कोई भी इंसान 100 बोरे चावल और दाल के अलग अलग कैसे कर सकता है जो इस प्रिंस ने कर दिया था? Today I will send 100 types of pulao and 100 glasses of buttermilk to your chamber. You must eat all the pulao and drink all buttermilk by dawn. मुंह में पानी आ रहा है. टेस्टी टेस्टी 100 टाइप के डिफरेंट पुलाव और बटर मिल्क माने की लस्सी. लेकिन 100 ग्लासेस लस्सी के और 100 टाइप के पुलाव एक रात में हम ख़त्म कर सकते हैं क्या? शायद प्रिंस भी नहीं कर सकता. तो फिर उसने क्या किया? In the evening, the king's cooks brought 100 big bowls of pulao and 100 glasses of buttermilk to the prince's chamber. Enjoy your dinner, they said with a snigger and left. शायद उन्हें लगा कि ये प्रिंस तो ये टास्क अचीव ही नहीं कर सकता. As soon as he was alone, the prince thought of the demon who appeared at once. "Why did you call?" asked the demon. "To give you dinner," the prince said with a grin. "That is most kind," said the demon, greedily eyeing the food. अब वो तो बड़ा सा दैत्य है ना राक्षस, वो तो easily खा सकता है. So he demolished the pulao in 5 bites and drank up the buttermilk in 1 gulp. 5 बारी में पूरा पुलाव चाट और 1 बारी में सारी लस्सी खत्म. "Thank you," he burped, "and excuse me. That was excellent pulao." In the morning, the king came to the prince's chamber and found all the dishes lying empty. "Excellent," he said, And now for the third task. Tonight we will celebrate the festival of Shiva. Beyond the city lies a hill, and on that hill there is a golden bell. When the bell is rung, it can be heard 7 kingdoms away. You must ring that bell at midnight. आसान लग रहा है ना टास्क? एक छोटी सी पहाड़ी पे चढ़ना है और एक गोल्डन कलर की बेल है जिसको कि आपने बजाना है. The prince rode out of the city and up the hill. Anyone can ring a bell, he thought. When he reached the top, he saw the bell. And what a bell it was! It towered into the sky, almost touching the clouds. इतनी huge और बड़ी बेल थी. The prince knew he would not be able to even move it. And once again, he thought of the demon. The demon appeared at once. What do you want me to do now? He asked. I want you to ring this bell at midnight, said the prince. Is that all? Said the demon, easily picking up the bell. When the full moon rode high in the night sky, the demon rang the bell, and the king, 7 kingdoms away, sat up in his bed. भाई बेल ही इतनी ह्यूज थी कि 7 किंगडम दूर तक आवाज गई उसकी. The prince returned to the palace, and the next morning, when all were in court, the Jasmine princess came in. When the prince saw her, his heart beat furiously. If the snake king didn't have his headache, the snakes would have never troubled my kingdom, and I would never have even seen her, he thought, gazing at the fragile beauty. As promised, you will marry my beloved child today, said the king. But if you can make her laugh before she leaves me, I will be in your debt. That I will do, said the prince, and he was married to the solemn little princess who weighed no more than 7 handfuls of jasmine blossoms. The next morning, the prince sent one of his men into the city. Find a man with a monkey that can do tricks, he ordered. Have them at the palace gates. The king gave the prince and his bride a splendid send-off and walked with them to the gates of his palace. You must bring my daughter to visit me as often as you can, he said to the prince. As they reached the gates, the princess caught sight of the monkey and looked at it curiously. Then the monkey began to somersault and dance in such a comical fashion that the princess began to smile. The smile grew broader and broader, and soon she was laughing. As her pearly teeth flashed, 3 jasmines fell from her mouth, and the prince hastily picked them up. भाई वैसे तो वो उन जैस्मिन फ्लावर्स के लिए ही आए थे ना? I have done the last thing you asked of me, the prince said to the king. Now I must return to my father's kingdom. The prince and his party rode as fast as they could when they reached his kingdom, and they went to the forest. The serpent king was still in the tree, groaning with pain. The prince held the divine jasmines to his nose, and the 7-year headache disappeared. For this, I will give you a magic jewel, said the grateful king of snakes. Whenever you need me, look into it and think of me, he said, handing a beautiful blue gem to the prince. I will be with you in a trice. मतलब जब भी आप इस जेम के अंदर देखोगे और मुझे याद करोगे, मैं झट से आपके सामने आ जाऊंगा. The prince bowed to him and finally took his bride home. The snake stopped troubling the kingdom, and the prince and the Jasmine princess lived happily for many a long years. तो देखा हमने, अगर हम किसी की मदद करते हैं तो वो भी हमारी मदद करते हैं. मदद ना भी करें, अच्छा करने से अच्छा ही होता है.